Hey y'all, it is story time once again, and this time I'm gonna talk about when a business called the cops on me because of my service dog. So if you didn't watch my last Storytime video, I suggest you watch it. I talk about my past service dogs because this incident did not happen with Harlow. It actually happened with my previous service dog, Oakley. I had just started college, so I must have been 18, 19. No, because I think Judd was deployed at the time. No. I don't remember exactly, y'all. I was around 18, 19, maybe 20 years old. Anyways, I had my service dog, Oakley. Oakley was a golden doodle. He must have been a year and a half at that point. At 2 years old, he developed arthritis and we had to medically retire him, from service work. I talk all about Oakley in my last Storytime video, but anyways, so I don't get sad. I'm just gonna continue with the story, and he was such a good dog. Anyways, he was basically past his in-training stage at this point, and we went to, now I'm thinking if I should mention the store name or not. I went to a place that serves bagels because I don't want people to be so hostile towards this business because they corrected the mistake. Anyways, I went to a place that served bagels, and I went to this bagel shop with Oakley. I frequent this place very often because at this time I was living with my dad in his condo in Orlando, and the bagel shop is literally a minute down the road. We're there multiple times a week. Went in, ordered my usual, a plain bagel, not toasted, with low-fat cream cheese, light spread, because I feel like if it's not low-fat, the cream cheese is too strong. Don't ask me why. That was my usual. I go there so often, they already know what I'm ordering before I order. There happened to be a new manager, and she comes up to me while I'm ordering and politely says, "I just need to see your service dog's papers." And I was like, uh-oh. Whenever I hear, "Let me see your dog's ID, certification, paperwork," I instantly get a little oh God, how is this gonna go? Because what y'all need to know is in the United States, there is no I can't speak. No such thing, there we go, as service dog IDs, paperwork, certification. There's none of that. What makes a service dog in the US is the fact that I am the handler with a disability, meaning I don't just have a medical condition, but my medical condition disables me. And as per the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, disables means that it significantly interferes with activities of daily living, such as walking, eating, caring for oneself, and so on. I'm disabled by my medical conditions. I have my service dog to help. And then the other thing is, your service dog must be trained to specifically mitigate your disability. Trained in task work. Oakley did task work. He alerted to my seizures because I was having seizures at that point. So I must have been 18. Anyways, I was around that age, y'all. And he also provided counterbalance, and he retrieved items that I dropped because if I picked them up, it could exacerbate my symptoms. He did a lot of tasks, and he was perfectly well behaved in this establishment. The two questions a business can ask are, is that a service dog required because of a disability? I would say yes. What tasks have the dog been trained to perform? I would say mobility and medical alert. Now, this is where the problem comes in. There are scam websites on the internet that will give you service dog paperwork. It has no legal standing whatsoever. I don't know why they are allowed to exist because all it does is create problems. People either know they're a scam and get the paperwork just so they can bring their dog everywhere without hassle, or people don't know better and they feel like, oh, I'm starting the process of getting a service dog. I have to get this ID. Y'all, I could send in any information. I could send in a picture of a gerbil. I would get the stupid ID back. Literally, it means nothing. All they want is to scam people and get their money for papers that have no legal standing in the United States whatsoever. And it just creates a big problem. Let me explain why. This manager didn't have a vendetta against me. She didn't plan to like ruin my day. She thought she was doing her job. You know, it's a food establishment. I can't just let any dog in here. I need to make sure only real service dogs come in. So she thinks they need paperwork because people before us have shown her these fake IDs, this paperwork documentation you can buy online. She is now fooled thinking that they're legitimate and that every team should have them. So when a legitimate team like me and Oakley come in and he's behaving well, he's helping me with my health, she feels we should have them too. And when we didn't, because they don't exist, and I tried to politely explain that to her, things went bad. She refused to serve us, and she told us if we did not leave, oh, I say us because it wasn't just Oakley and I, my father was there too. My father was not happy with that. She said if we did not leave because we refused to show the paperwork, and mind you, my father has the ADA laws from the .gov website that states there's no paperwork. He was trying to show her, like, look, just read the laws. I know it's confusing and people abuse the system and it's terrible, but just, you know, educate yourself. Because while the whole fake ID thing can be confusing, businesses, like, it's their responsibility to know what the laws are. Anyways, she refused to serve us, we refused to leave, and so she called the cops. So we sit down in this bagel store, we wait an hour. My dad is livid, but you know, he's a man of class, so he's not gonna do anything dramatic, you know. An hour goes by, the cops don't come, because in all honesty, while it is discriminatory to not allow a service dog and like to not serve me because I don't have papers, I mean, the whole thing was a mess. It's not an emergency, nobody's dying, you know. So the cops didn't come within an hour. My dad had to go to a meeting, I had to go to class. So I tried to talk to the manager one last time. Mind you, I promise y'all, I did not get like salty or rude or anything. All I told her was like, will you please just have an open discussion with me, because I know how this is gonna end. I'm the one with the service dog. I live this life. I know my rights. I know the laws. And she just wasn't having it. So we left after about an hour of waiting for the cops to come, you know? And when I got to my car, I just remember gripping the steering wheel, taking a deep breath, and then breaking down. I cried. I felt so humiliated. The store was full and people were very aware of what was going on because the manager was quite loud. A lot of people were on our side, but like, what are you gonna do? And I just was humiliated, frustrated, like, why does this have to happen? Anyways, I decided to call the corporate line of this establishment. And I kind of got the runaround, but finally I said, I guess the magic words, I'm like, what happened is discriminatory, and I am on full grounds to sue y'all if I so choose. Please call me back within 2 days to try and sort this out. Because what's also kind of, I'm getting into like controversial territory here. A lot of places won't ask a service dog team to leave because they're afraid of being sued. And this has also led to the issue of businesses not asking people to remove their service animal even if they're misbehaving. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of room for abuse in this system here in the United States. I'm not here to say whether I think the system is good or not. I'm just saying there's a lot of room for abuse, but to modify it would probably also be very challenging. But regardless, nowadays there's a lot of instances of, they call it fake service dogs. I don't really like that term because I feel like it puts blame on the dog. The blame should be put on the owner who is knowingly bringing their unsuited animal into public. For example, a few months ago, Judd and Harlow and I were at Disney and we got attacked by a service dog. I'll put the video here if you want to learn more about it. There's actually a lot of good information I give on this whole subject in that video, and we were fine. Harlow handled it beautifully. I was like really frazzled. But anyways, continuing the story, corporate eventually got back to me, and it was one of the higher ups in this company, corporation, whatever, this bagel store brand. And they were so apologetic. She goes, I spoke to my legal team. I am so sorry. What can we do? And the first thing I said was, I'm so glad y'all understand the mistake. You need to talk to my dad because my dad is livid. Like, I don't like to pursue the lawsuit. I would honestly never do that. It's just not who I am. What I want to come from it is education, awareness, and whatever like mistakes there were to be learned from. So I told her, you need to educate that manager. I understand she thought she was in the right, but she was kind of rude to us, first of all. Second of all, she's very uneducated on service dog laws, which could open y'all up to a lot of problems. And not only that, I felt humiliated and degraded and frustrated. And on top of it all, my dog was not doing anything. He was being perfectly well behaved. We talked for quite a while. We stayed in contact for quite a while, and they put out a company-wide re-education program about disability rights, service dog laws, and the issues within the service dog community, such as these fake IDs and people bringing in untrained pets, trying to like pass them off as service dogs. So they put out a whole company-wide retraining. Another team that I knew at the time went back to that same establishment where I had the issue that morning. They went back in the afternoon and they had no problems at all with the same manager. I guess not the most embarrassing part. The most embarrassing part was having the cops called on us and like having to leave without being served and all that. Okay. Second most embarrassing part of this is the corporate person was adamant that this manager apologized to me, and I was like, ugh, that's gonna be awkward. So we went into the store a few days later and the manager came out, and although it was like awkward, I think she was really sincere. She's like, honestly, I thought I was doing my job. I'm sorry that I was even like remotely rude to you. I should have been more open-minded. I should have called my superior to find out what's correct and what's not. And she's like, and honestly, your dog wasn't doing anything to warrant, questioning if it was a legitimate service dog or not. So from it all, it was resolved, and a company-wide, nationwide thing went out about educating their employees about the correct laws. So I feel like that's a win for the advocacy. I mean, it wasn't a good experience, but what I needed to come of it came of it. Education, awareness, moving forward in the right way. And they also sent like, I'm not even kidding y'all, we had a freezer full of bagels for months. They sent us like 4 or 5 dozen bagels. No, there was more than that. They sent us a lot of bagels. And she also called my dad to kind of talk to him about it, because like I said, my dad was so mad. And since then, whenever we go into this bagel store, no matter where it is, we've not had any problems. Now, had the cops shown up, this would have been resolved a lot faster, because the police would have said, ma'am, you're in the wrong. These are the laws. These are her rights. But as I said, it wasn't a true emergency. Eventually they would have gotten there, but after an hour, I don't think I could have stayed in that store anymore with just like the hostility and embarrassment and the manager just glaring at us, and I had to leave too at that point. And as frustrating as it was, at least from it came a positive outcome. Re-education for the entire company, re-education for that particular manager, and just more awareness for the service dog community. Thankfully, I don't run into access issues all that often. I feel that's in large part due to how my service dog, Harlow, behaves. It's pretty obvious that we're a legitimate team. She's well behaved, not disruptive, focused. But even then, we can still run into some problems. I would say this incident was one of definitely the more extreme, because typically just some polite education can go a really long way. But this is one of the harder aspects of being a service dog handler. We run into access issues like this, and depending on the health of the handler, sometimes they may not even be in a place to speak up for themselves and try to rectify the situation. That's why I feel it's very important for me to spread awareness and advocate. And by watching this video and learning from it, y'all have actually really helped in reaching that goal of spreading service dog awareness and in advocating for handler rights and such. So for that, I want to say thank you. And with that, I will say goodbye. And thanks for joining us on our adventure.